Today I'm just going to show how to set up Fairshift to run with Grand Prix Legends. So assuming that if Fairshift's been installed as per the installation instructions, I'm just going to show what looks like. I use Thrustmaster stuff, so if I look at the Thrustmaster game controls to start with, just look at the properties for this, you can see that the thing's set up with a clutch on slider 0, the brakes on the y-axis, and the throttle or gas is on the rotational z-axis, and you can see that the steering wheel's working fine, no problems. So just remember it's clutches on slider 0, so click OK for that, because I don't really need that now, just leave it alone. If I start Fairshift, you get the normal axis check, and then you go for, in this case, the H shift is the T500, and the clutch is Thrustmaster because that's connected to the actual steering wheel. So these names don't always match up your hardware, because mine's the TH8 Pro, I think, gear lever. So the name doesn't come up right every time, but it's the correct H shifter. So when you click on that, you get the next window coming up, which is the Fairshift window. If I make sure this is the enable and disable clutch button, if I want to change the slide, change any of the configurations, I've got to enable the clutch. If I click on custom, pops up with the next window. If I can now, because I've got the clutch enabled, I can select which axis I want. If you don't have clutch enabled, you can't do this bit, so it's useful to do that. So if I press the clutch down, you can see slider 0 is moving as it was in the other Thrustmaster window, and I can select the correct axis from the drop down list. If I press the throttle, I get the Z rotation, which is what I had in the other axis, and if I press the Y axis, I get the the brake pedal, I get the Y axis moving. If I want to check on the H shifter, if I put it into first gear on the H shifter, I get a little 0 coming in the active button, and that's what you do, you type in the different numbers on here. So if one of these was not assigned, I could say make that into a 9, which is completely wrong at the moment. If I want to say what your second gear is button number 1, so I could just type in there button 1. Once this is configured, you don't have to do this again. Once it's done, that's it. So if I click done, that's it. If I enable or disable the clutch now, I'd normally run it without the clutch, but for the purpose of this demo, I'll have the clutch enabled. And this is the shift volume. If you miss a gear, you'll get a noise like that. It's quite an irritating noise. It's designed to make sure that you don't miss gears, I suppose. So if I click start, and I'm waiting now for GPL, clutch enabled, remember. If I start GPL window, coming up normal gem, start GPL, and that should end up in a Gordini in the pit lane. And let's just see what happens with the clutch. Bear in mind, the clutch is enabled. So if the clutch is enabled, if I try and put it in gear, I get that awful noise. So in order to actually get off the line, I need to depress the clutch, put it in gear. It's in gear, but notice that the little neutral button at the bottom near the rev counter is still N. It's still showing N for neutral. It's only when I start set off with it actually register first gear. So if I drop the clutch, there you go, register first gear, it starts to move. Now if I try to change gear now without the clutch, like that, I get an awful noise. So to get it back into gear again, I have to take it out of second gear, depress the clutch, put it back into first, drop the clutch, and away it goes. And that's basically how it works with Fairshift. Again, into neutral, and we're stopped. So if we go back to close down Grand Prix Legends, And we get back to the beginning, and we should find that the Fairshift now said that GPL has been stopped. So if I wanted to start again, what I'd have to do is press that. I'll have to press the start button again, and I can use GPL again, and that's how you use it. Normally, for example, I'd normally use it without the clutch enabled. It just means it's a little bit easier, to be honest.